Hello, welcome to Scalecast. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually cast some moulds using Tough Cast, and I'm going to show you sort of the right way and the wrong way to do it, because lots of people contact me and say they have lots of trouble getting the details right, and I've posted lots of things online on how to do it, but I'm going to show you because the video I did is quite old now, so I'm going to do a new video. And for this sort of demonstration, I'm going to use two different moulds. I'm going to use an O gauge. This is one of the new Tudor moulds, and I'm going to use an O gauge one, which has got lots of fine detail in the brickwork here, etc., etc. So just a couple of pointers before we start is I go on about spray your moulds with some water and maybe a little bit of washing liquid or rinse aid before you start. Well, that's one way of doing it. So today I'm going to show you a slightly different way, and you might find it easier. So let's start and get some casting going. So basically, to get started, what I've done is I've just gone and got these two moulds. I've put them in a bowl, a little bowl of water, a couple of inches of water, and a little bit of rinse aid in them, so they're pretty wet through now. So basically all I'm going to do is just sort of like give them a shake off, and then put them on these tissues, and you'll see why I do that in a minute. So just to sort of shake it off, just to get the excess off, but put it on there wet. And now I'm going to go and mix the Tough Cast. So back in a second. So, okay, I've just got a little plastic cup with some water in it. I've put 2 or 3 drops of rinse aid in there as well. I've got a tub of Tough Cast here, and basically I'm just going to spoon it into the cup, as it were. So I hope you can see the video, because the camera's not in the best position in the world. But I'm quite literally just going to use a spoon and just... And I know to do this guesswork. I don't really need to weigh it anymore, because I know what consistency I'm looking for. And I'm doing quite a bit, because some of these moulds are a reasonable size. Well, this O gauge one is obviously a little bit bigger. So you know, you can always add a little bit more, and I just use a fork. By the way, the water's lukewarm, just lukewarm, just so it's just not freezing. Just find that it runs a little bit and it mixes a bit better. And that's still too thin. So we're looking for sort of creamy, but it still needs to run. It doesn't, you know, it should just pretty much run into these moulds. You can do this by weight. I've published it. It's normally 40 grams of water to 100 grams of casting powder. You'll find that you can adjust that slightly. So on a nice summer's day, when it's nice and warm, I tend to put a little bit more water in, because it dries a bit quicker. It's pretty much not far off now there. And I'm just going to cast in a little bit more in there. More. Sorry about this, I know this is a boring bit, you can skip ahead if you want, but really what I'm trying to show you the differences here is, and I'm going to show you some example casts that I did previously for this video. I'm going to show you some examples of moulds that didn't use the rinse aid or anything, and they were just cast, and how badly they came out, and then just doing this method, and obviously we'll show that these come out a lot better. Okay, just slightly tap, just to get the any bubbles out of the cup, and hopefully you can see that. It's fairly runny. It's heavy, but it's fairly runny, and it is a little bit creamy, so I can see it sort of just taking its time just to run back down the cup. Okay, so I'm going to just do the O gauge one first, and you sort of see I just do this really nice and gentle, and I just pour into one place. Don't move around, I'll just let it float and roll into where it wants to go. Okay. I really hope the video can just show this, like, it just creeps into everywhere it wants to go, and it does that a lot better when you've just rinsed them out in the rinse aid. Nice, gentle, slow, drippy sort of pour. Starting to go over the windows there a little bit, so just let that settle down. Now if you're doing it as thin as I'm doing it here, you probably need to leave them for about an hour to dry. I prefer to just do it thin and take my time. And what I'll normally do is I'll do 5 or 6 moulds at once, so I get lots and lots of casts out all in one go. Don't generally leave them to dry overnight, because sometimes you get a little bit dry, but to be honest with you, out of these silicone moulds, they just pretty much fall out. It depends what you're casting. These have got really nice little fine window bars in these Tudors, so that's what I want to show the example for here. Okay, we're almost done. See, people use spatulas and all sorts, but you know what? If you do it like this and you get it right, you really don't need to do anything. You can just pour it in, leave it to dry and take them out. I'm just going to put a couple of little drops. That one's okay in here, because I can see the water coming to the top, which is fine. You just let the casting powder just settle into the mould then. And there we go. Okay, so generally I'll leave that for a few minutes. And the reason I put it on the tissues is because on a glass surface like this, you can just give it a little shake. That's all I do really, just to get the bubbles, any bubbles out. Just a nice little shake there. There we go. So the casting material's in. So we need to sort of pause the video now and leave that to set, and then we'll come back to it. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to show you some casts that I actually did yesterday. These 2 moulds were actually brand new, yeah, so they'd never been used before. So what I did is I just cast straight into them, which I know is a bit of a no-no, yeah, not to prepare them in any way, because when they're sort of fresh, they're still coated in the silicone, so when you cast in, even in resin, you get bubbles on the surface, and it's just, you just got to get past that first casting. So what I'm going to do is show you an example. I hope you can see this. That's the casting that I took out yesterday. Yeah, we can see all the bricks undefined. Yeah, so the casting material didn't go in properly, and that was just using a raw mould, no prep whatsoever, and just pouring the casting material in like I've just done today. Then I took the moulds out, give them a wash, putting a little bit of rinse aid into the washing up bowl there, put them in, shook them off, dropped them on the tissue just like I've done today, and then took the casts out about an hour later, and that's the result. I'm hoping the camera can see that, but that is absolutely perfect. There is not a mark or a blemish on there. Similarly out of the other mould, which was the one with the doors, which is the one I'm doing now, as it happens. So this is before I did anything with the mould, and this is what people show me all the time. They're going, I'm getting these sort of castings, Martin, is this normal? And it can be a bit frustrating. Well, it doesn't need to be frustrating. All you need to do is prepare your moulds first. 2-second job, literally. Bowl of warm water, 2 inches deep, little squirt, 5 mils maybe, a rinse aid. You just shake your moulds off into there, and then you're going to come out with that, which as you see is absolutely spot on. And it doesn't matter what size mould you use, you get the same problem and the same solution every single time. Okay, so we'll come back a little bit in a little while when these are dried. Well, I just watched that back, guys, and I was going at a million miles an hour because for some reason I'd pressed time lapse on the iPad that's recording it, and it made a bit of a mess because it went 100 miles an hour, and I didn't realise I'd done it. So I can't go backwards now because obviously I've took everything out of the mould. So anyway, you saw me whiz them out. They all came out really, really easy. I'm not going to re-record the whole thing again, so I'm just going to show you those casts and how good they are. And that's what I was saying all the way through the video there, and it's quite annoying there. And the little Tudors that I just did. Okay, so that's one. And just to show you that they all came out really, really well. I'll just put these here because I think you can see them on the camera when I was just reviewing it. And there's the other one that I just took out. And the other one with the little windows in it, just to show you that the real fine parts just come out quite nice. I did say there that I'd left it for about an hour, but probably could have done with probably half an hour longer, to be honest with you, because I did put it in quite wet. But they did come out okay, they came out fine. And there's all the pieces. So anyway, I hope you get the gist. Yeah, just to recap, and not to bore you too much, get some lukewarm water, put a bit of rinse aid in it, wash your moulds, shake them off, drop them on a bit of kitchen roll, mix your cast up, put a couple of drops of rinse aid in your cast if you're doing a lot, or just one drop if you're only doing a little Tudor or something like that, or a little NS. Mix it up, nice and runny, fairly runny there. Pour it all in, and away you go. Yeah, you'll get lovely casts with really high defined stone finishes on them, as opposed to these horrible ones, which is what happens when you get the new moulds and you don't wash them in the first place. And then they just tend to get better, and people think they're getting better with practice, but actually they're not. The mould just loses the silicone off the surface a little bit, and it gets a bit better. But to get them perfect, that's how you do it, with the rinse aid. Okay, so I hope you like the video. I'll try and do some more soon, and yeah, leave me a comment or contact me on the website. Thanks, guys.